You think vampires started with Dracula? They didn't. Long before Transylvania, ancient Greece told stories of Lamia, a woman turned into child-eating night predator, cursed into a blood-hungry creature. Alongside her were the Empusai, shape-shifting spirits that seduced men before feeding on them. In China, there's the Jiangshi, a stiff, corpse-like being that hops through the night, draining life energy instead of blood. In Southeast Asia, things get worse. The Penanggalan and the Manananggal, creatures that detach their heads or bodies, flying through the dark to feed. India has the Jigarkwar, a spirit that feeds on vital essence. Africa tells of the Asan Bosam, iron-toothed forest predators, and the lightning-linked Impundulu, feeding on blood through storms. In Europe, we know vampires take many forms. The Strigoi in Romania, the Vrikolakas in Greece, the Draugr in Norse myth, not dead, not alive. The Americas, the Sucuyant, a fireball spirit shedding its skin at night. The Wendigo, feeding not just on flesh, but hunger itself. The Pishtako, draining fat instead of blood. And in Australia, the Yaramayahu, a small red creature that swallows you whole and changes you. Different continents, different patterns. Something that feeds on you and leaves you less human. Dracula didn't invent vampires. He just made them famous. So let's start with the oldest myth, the Lamia in Greece. People would think the first vampiric creature would be the Lilith. But let's go back to Greek mythology first. Because you think vampires drink blood, but Greeks thought something worse. Her name was the Lamia. Once she was a queen of Libya, beautiful and loved by Zeus. And that was the problem. Zeus's wife, Hera, found it out. And instead of punishing Zeus, she punished Lamia. Some versions say she unalived her children. Others say she cursed Lamia so she could never sleep, only remember. And grief did the rest. The beautiful queen changed. She began hunting children, feeding on them. Not out of hunger, but out of loss. Over time, her image shifted, part woman, part serpent, a creature that moved between beauty and horror. Parents used her as warning, stay inside or the Lamia will come. She wasn't just a monster, she was what happens when grief has nowhere to go. And in a world without mercy, even love can turn into something that feeds on you. The Empusai, Greece. If this is what the romance-loving girls get crazy for, the Empusai would be the teen geek boy's dream. Not all vampires look like monsters. Some look exactly like what you want. In ancient Greece, they were called Empusai, servants of the goddess Hecate, shapeshifters. They could appear as beautiful women, approaching travelers at night, tired men, alone, vulnerable. They didn't attack immediately. They talked, they smiled, they got close. And when the illusion dropped, well, it was too late. Some stories describe them with one bronze leg and one donkey leg. Others say their face would shift from human to something wrong. They fed on blood or life force. The details change, but the pattern doesn't. They weren't about strength. They were about deception. Because the Greeks understood something simple. The most dangerous predators don't chase you. They make you walk towards them. The Jiangshi, China. The vampires you know are always sexy, charming, fast. But this one from China is not really one that would fit this description. The one that I'm talking about hops. They're called the Jiangshi, stiff corpses, bodies that didn't rest properly after passing away. In old China, people believed if a body wasn't buried correctly or if the soul couldn't leave, it came back, not as a ghost, but as a moving corpse. Rigid arms, pale skin, no expression. It travels at night, jumping forward, sensing the living, but it doesn't drink blood. It drains life energy, your chi. Some stories say they were created accidentally. Others say that Taoist priests could control them with talismans placed on their foreheads. You've probably seen it in the movies, the hopping vampire. That's not fiction. That's folklore turned into film. Because in China, the fear wasn't about death. It was about the body coming back when it shouldn't. The Penanggalang from Malaysia and Indonesia. Getting ahead in Malaysia is totally different when it's from a Penanggalan. In this series, I talk about vampiric creatures. And this Malaysian, Indonesian creature is way different than the typical stories you hear about vampires. This one doesn't just hunt. It leaves its body behind. The Penanggalan is a woman by day, normal, quiet, invisible. But at night, her head detaches, organs hanging beneath it, still dripping, and it flies, searching for homes with pregnant women or newborns. That's what it feeds on: blood, life, and vulnerability. And the worst part, you wouldn't know who it is. She could be your neighbor, someone you trust, your grandma. In some stories, the body is left behind, hidden somewhere. If you find it, you can stop her, but you would have to know where to look. Because the Penanggalan doesn't just hunt. It lives among you and it chooses when to become something evil. The Manananggal, Philippines. The Asian vampiric creatures are on another level from the ones that we know from Transylvania. In my previous video, I already talked about the Malaysian Penanggalang. The Filipino Manananggal is worse because it doesn't just lose its head. It splits in half. Upper body separates from the lower. Wings grow from its back and it flies into the night. Like the Penanggalan, it hunts pregnant women and unborn children. But instead of attacking directly, it uses a long, thin tongue. It reaches through windows, into homes, into places that are supposed to be safe. The name literally means one who separates. And just like before, the lower body stays hidden. If you find it before sunrise, you can destroy it. Salt, fire, blades. But if you don't, it returns, whole again, like nothing ever happened. And the following night, it will fly again. The Jigarkwar, India. Nobody ever talks about mythical creatures of India. One culture this old, there are a lot of cool myths. And India's vampire isn't famous, but it's brutal. The Jigarkwar. The name means the liver eater. Like those old college nights that you don't remember. It doesn't go for blood. It goes for organs. In some traditions, it appears as a spirit or a cursed being that attacks the living at night. It doesn't seduce. It doesn't disguise itself. It hunts. The belief comes from something deeper. In many cultures, the liver represents life, strength, and identity. So this isn't random violence. It's targeted. Takes what makes you, you. There aren't many modern movies about it. No big Hollywood version. But that's probably what makes it worse. It stayed in the stories, untouched. And sometimes the quiet ones are the ones that were taken the most seriously. So vampiric creatures around the world. The Lamia Pusai, Jiangshi, Manananggal, Jigarkwar. 6 creatures from completely different parts of the world. Different cultures, different names. But the same idea. Something that feeds on you and leaves you less human. And if you noticed, this wasn't even half of them. Previously, I mentioned a lot more. Africa, Europe, the Americas, stories that get darker, more physical, more real. So this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. So next week we continue. And the question changes from do vampires exist to something worse. Why did every culture imagine the same way?